Hello, Cancer. Hello, Cancer. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. Yes, I'm feeling goofy. This is my last reading of the day, and I am just feeling a little bit more jubilant as the day goes on, as the readings pass by. And so I know maybe this is not the energy of, you can see right here. Yes, Cancer, we have the Tower card, right? Don't worry. Don't worry. Sometimes this card has nothing to do with us. Sometimes it's just like, hey, this person in your life is going through it. Maybe you need to check on them. Maybe you have been involved and that has been a big help, or, whatever it is. It doesn't always mean that we personally are having a Tower moment. But yeah, sometimes it does. Now, I got out the Radiant Sun, Oracle of the Radiant Sun, to help clarify later on in the reading about this card. If we don't get a lot of clarity from the tea leaves. But, for those of you who don't know what the Tower card means, you can see it is kind of a pretty wild looking scene here, right? And just by the colors alone, you can tell that it's very serious. So the Tower, if it weren't on fire and under attack, the Tower would just represent some fundamental aspect of our life. Right? Something that our relationship, our health, our household, our career, our kids, whatever it is. When the Tower card kind of comes into play, we know that something is kind of falling apart, right? Like, maybe your relationship is ending. Maybe your job, all of a sudden you're laid off, or they're giving you bad hours, or whatever it is. So we're gonna look. I don't want you to worry though, okay? When we see the Death card, the Hanged Man, the Tower card, I know we all are like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But we have to temper ourselves, because sometimes it's not about us. Sometimes it is about us, but it's something that happened a long time ago. It's something that may happen, but we can avoid it. So let's see. We're going to turn this thing. Earlier I did a reading and I dropped the bowl and had to start over because all the leaves went flying. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. Oh, look at the little smiley face. Immediately it says, don't worry, Cancer, you're all good. I want to say thank you for clicking on the reading, taking a chance. And I know a lot of you have been here before. And if you are coming back, if this is not your first reading, I want to say welcome back, welcome home. We're all family here. And if you're new to the channel or new to tea leaf reading in general, maybe you saw this and you're like, what the heck is that? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's a huge honor for me to have you here. All right, let's begin. So, it looks like we have the name Dawn, D-A-W-N, Dawn, or maybe dawn, like the day, dawn of the day, right? We also have, it looks like R20, if that means anything to you. And we have a person down here. You can see this is the person, arm raised, and they have, it looks like musical notes, a little chicken leg kind of thing. We have a heart that's being trampled by a foot. And I feel like flinging off, there's like a mermaid or a siren. So the siren is traditionally half woman, half bird. right? But it also kind of became this mer person, right? We know the stories of like the sailors, and they hear the mermaid singing, and they turn their ships towards them and follow the beautiful sound, and then they end up getting wrecked or stranded somewhere, or even worse, possibly. So it's all about like things that tempt us, but they could lead to really destructive things in our life, or losing everything. So I often think of this as like, and this is actually something that happens quite often to especially older people, which is things like catfishing. Okay. Now, I don't mean like, okay, you got on, what are the dating ones now? Like Tinder, is that still going? Tinder, right? You get on Tinder, you meet somebody, and you get to talking, you decide to hang out or whatever. And when you meet the person, you're like, oh, shoot, they don't look like their picture, right? And there's that kind of catfishing. But then there's also like people who are really just out here doing like financial fraud and that kind of thing, like trying to get people for all of their money, right? And, we can all sit here and say, how the heck do you let that happen? How does anybody fall for that? People do. People do, especially if you haven't spent a lot of time online, right? You don't have that like cynical discernment that a lot of us have who grew up mostly on the internet, right? And so I wonder if maybe this has happened. Maybe it's a similar situation. Maybe it's feeling like somebody from your past who you already know is trouble is kind of coming back around, and you're starting to think, well, no, right? It is a one-way ticket to heartbreak. We got that heart being stomped on, distraction. I see you really focused on making money, getting your resources up, creating, maybe music. I feel like music is involved in some way. I feel like you must be a music fan. You like going to concerts. Maybe you are a musician. But I see that as being part of this next cycle as well. But I feel like the big thing is having that resolve. That like, I'm not going back. I don't care how lonely I am. I don't care how much I've been thinking about you. I don't care how much of a perfect, magical, beloved, forever, angelic number 9 that you are. I know better. Right? That's what we say to ourselves. I know better. I know where this leads. I know how good it seems in this moment, but I also know what it's been like, what it will be like, okay? So hold strong. Because listen, if we don't find any other tower moment or possible tower moment, that might be the one. Because I feel like this is a person that you have a history with. It's like maybe one of the people that you break up with, you get back together with. Over the years, you always seem to like find solace in one another, right? But it's not it. That's not it. Now, I don't like to tell anybody what to do, but this time I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't answer the text. Don't answer the call. Don't take the friend request, whatever. Ignore it. Okay, so we have the word tow. So I'm wondering, TOW. So I'm wondering if you are having maybe some issues with your vehicle. It could also be, honestly, I almost kind of feel like this is where You're in a situation snake. The person on top. Look at this person standing here. Standing here, head holding, I don't know what it is, but they're standing on the back of this. It looks like a dog, maybe. And the dog's trying to rear up and get whatever they're holding. We also have memories down here. So I know that we have like a strong sense of the mother. We have a snake over here, and it looks like it says I, heart, and it looks like an old school phone and then a snake. This might be silly, but I wonder if this person that is coming back around, or you have been thinking about getting it, back together with or in touch with or whatever, I wonder if you grew up together and you spent a lot of time on the phone. I just get this feeling of like laughing, staying up all night, being quiet on the phone so you don't wake up your parents, and just this like sense of, magnetism, excitement. You could spend forever just, talking about the silliest things. And I feel like this is a kind of connection that you really want. You feel like maybe you could access it in some way with this person because you've been there with them before. It's possible. But here's the deal is that I feel like it's like so many years later. And you are focused on the nostalgia of the thing, how you remember the person, not as they are now. And so I also feel like, it kind of, you might be the type of person that gets into a place of rumination. And I think you dwell in your memories a lot, and you lament. You lament things that have come to pass or have not, you wanted it to, but it didn't work out. And I think you get really stuck in these places, and it can last anywhere from, hours to months. And I feel like this is kind of that alarm going off for you. And also, listen, we have that snake. I feel like this person that you keep going back to, not all the time, but over the years, it's been a lot of years that you're on again, off again. I just feel like they have become such a corrupt, immoral person. And I know that's very strong to say, but I feel like your convictions, your virtues, your, feeling of how you want to exist in the world and interact with other people, I feel like it's so much different than this person. And they're a snake. I feel like they would sell you out in a second if it meant that they got ahead somehow. Now, up here, I feel that this is like the universe saying, like, stop torturing yourself. Stop thinking about it. Do something else. You keep showing off this here's the treat, but you can't have it. Here's the treat, but you can't have it. And it really is. I don't know about you, but as you can see, and I usually cover my arms up, you can see I have a lot of scarring on my arms. And I don't know what I'm allowed to, I'm allowed to say whatever I want on here, but as far as the algorithm goes and, obviously monetization goes, I have to be careful about the words I use. So this is something of self, right? A coping mechanism, torturing of self. I'm not saying this is what you do, but I understand the impulse. When I was young, and this is years ago, and I have a lot of scars all over my body from the same thing. And if you've ever wondered, why does this lady always wear long sleeves? That's why. But I feel like for you, it's like this, don't get into a cycle of choosing against yourself. Don't get into a cycle of punishing yourself. Don't get into a cycle of accepting something that not only doesn't serve you, but just literally makes your life harder. Because in a moment of I'm not going to say weakness, but in a moment of wanting, in a moment of desiring companionship, to be heard, to be seen, to be noticed, to be remembered, that you lower your standards, boundaries, the things that you've promised yourself go out the window, and you just allow yourself to fit back in where it feels comfortable. Even if it feels terrible, it's comfortable because you've been there before, right? And so I feel like, the universe is like, dude, don't. You've done so much work. You've done so much work. Now the work is to break this cycle. Because I think this person is ultimately going to be like poison for you. And I don't say that lightly. I am not somebody usually to say, oh, you shouldn't be with them, or they're not good for... I don't ever want to tell somebody who they should and shouldn't be with, right? But sometimes you just get such a strong energy, and it's like, you already know. You already know. You've been through it. I don't have to tell you, but I'm going to. Now, we also have the number, it looks like 68, 68. Now, we also have a person right here, and they have a bird that's coming off their arm. So sending a message. Also, there is a heart. We have the head of, it looks like a turkey or a vulture. You can see, here's the beak, the eye, the head, the neck down in here. We also have a person who is kneeling. They have an offering played out. We have a person down here who is sitting and praying. You can see their hands together. There's a guardian angel up here. Up here we have, it looks like another guardian angel. Okay, so we also have, it looks like a person standing. Here's the head and their arm is raised. So I do feel like there is this sense of turning towards your faith, activating your, communication, like your channel of communication with your elders, your ancestors. I think you find a lot of comfort in communing with them. Okay, so however you do that, I think that's really important. Okay, going into those self-histories, getting tapped into that long line of beings that you have, that I feel like a lot of them must have been people of some kind of faith, because we have, again, another person who is kneeling with their hand out, like they're giving an offering, or they're, some kind of votive thing. Now, I feel like for you, maybe you have been resistant at times to get involved in religion or spirituality. Maybe you grew up around people, like I said, who are of faith, and maybe you come from a line of people who have some kind of faith, and maybe that just wasn't for you. Whatever their flavor was, wasn't for you. I think oftentimes people can almost be kind of traumatized by the way that their families worship, especially if they don't like, going to, temple, or they don't like sitting through, mass or whatever it is. And you have to do that constantly, at least once a week or whatever. And it becomes kind of this sore spot. And as you get older and you can make your own decisions, and I don't want to go, I'm not going to be involved in that, and you just kind of close it off. Well, I feel like for you, you are, beyond that. But I feel that there is a real deep renewal in your interest to connect to the divine, to find your version of faith, your religion, your spiritual makeup, right? And so I do, and I feel like you do this, and we have that turkey Now, the turkey is aggressive, but it's also very protective. And I feel like, honestly, it's like how we would do anything for our kid. You know, that feeling like I don't know if you've ever raised kids, right? And of course, they all have a moment where they like get into like a little spat with another kid, or, maybe they're even like getting bullied by another kid or whatever. And you witness it. And this moment where your emotions, your feelings, they go off the charts, right? You want to protect your kid. You'll do whatever you can for your kid, if you're like me, I'm like, man, I'll fight that kid's whole family if I have to. Like, don't touch my kid. But I feel like for you, now, come with me, right? We're in that feeling, that protective instinct, but apply that to you. Apply that to you and your spiritual wellness, your emotional wellness, the wellness in your physical life, your world. That amount of care. That thing that just gets activated in you. I will stop at nothing to protect myself, to heal myself, to refine myself. I will do whatever it takes. And I don't care what anybody thinks about that. And I feel like that's exactly where you're at. I do. And I think that in combination with this amount of, to me, growing up in a line of people who are magical workers or have a inclination towards the spiritual, esoteric, occult, religious, whatever, if you liked it or not, if you believed it or not, if you disliked it or, lamented it or whatever, it has opened doors within you, right? So I feel like you begin here in this cycle a little ahead because you already kind of have laid a lot of these paths in. But now I feel like this is the beginning of your intentional work, okay? This is the time in your life where you're not going to rely on this is my wife's faith, or this is my, this is the church that my parents grew up in and then I went to it, so I go there. No, this is like, I'm going to find my way. And I know that it's been looking for me. I can feel it stirring in the underbrush, right? I can feel the trees pulling me out to the woods. And maybe you are. Maybe nature is your cathedral. But I feel like this is a big time for self-discovery. Now we're going to look at this plate. Then I want to look at those cards really quick and see if we can get some clarity. We have a large A, okay? So maybe a name. We also have the hourglass, and the letter M. So I wonder if there is some kind of pressure going on in your life, like short of time, too many things to do. Schedule needs to be resorted because it's not working for you, right? You have too much on your plate. So I think that's a big thing. I also feel that there's something to do with like biking, cycling maybe. And I want you to be careful. I want you to beware of this because I feel like this could be where some kind of maybe injury happens or, Yeah, it feels not big, not some really terribly scary thing, but I feel like, yeah, like you pull like, you know, a muscle in your leg or something, and it hurts and it's going to slow you down a little bit, but, you know, just be mindful if you do any kind of intentional exercise or activities that involve some kind of equipment, right? All right, so we're going to ask the Oracle of the Radiant Sun about what is going on with this Tower card. I feel the energy, but I want to know more specifically, like, what is happening? Why is this showing up? Because there's not a lot of clarity here about that. Okay, come on. I should have shuffled these before. I'm sorry. I just kind of do it they're small and there's a lot of them. So I'm not good at shuffling a big deck. Okay, so we're going to go like this. I'm going to do probably like 3. Okay, so we have originality. Probably do more than 3. I'm just going to pick them out here and put them, if we turn them over, all of them or not. Okay, so we have altogether 6 cards laid out. Now, the first one was originality, seduction. Okay, so this is funny because in my last reading, I'm like, oh, you're really drawn to somebody that's super cool. And I do. I feel like it's a similar energy. I feel like you have somebody in your life who is very creative, very much their own person, like they're unique, right? There seems to be, you know, quite an attraction, quite a sense of seduction. Exhalation, organization, inheritance, and decision. Okay. So interesting. I almost feel like this connection is like supreme, holistic belovedness at times. Not always, but at times. There is a deep and meaningful union here. So I wonder if you're like married or in a long-term relationship, okay? Here's the deal. I feel like where you need a lot of organization, you need your world to like make sense. It all has to be kind of scheduled and routine, and you want to be able to, you know, understand things. They're all laid out. You can look at it all, right? Instead of just like chaotic, like, I don't know what I'm doing. We're just going to, you know, fly by the seat of our pants, like whatever, right? I feel that you have been very, very focused on building up money, saving money. I think that you are really, really motivated by being able to leave something for your kids, your spouse, God forbid, if, you know, something happened, that kind of thing. Now, I wonder if this other person, your person is maybe not so serious about financials, or they just don't have the same goals, or, you know, they have like their own very, you know, important and wonderful and unique qualities, but they're not always helpful with the things that you are prioritizing. Now, I feel like the decision. So I don't know, and I'm going to pull 2 more cards because I really want to see kind of, let me see here. I want to see what the heck, lust. It's just so much revenge. Okay, so what is the decision about, though? Inspiration. Fulfillment. But you're bluffing. Okay. All right, so here's the deal. Now, I'm not saying you, Cancer, are somebody who can't have like, big, overwhelming feelings of desire and lust and this and that. I just don't think that you're always willing to express that. You're really good at tempering yourself. You're really good at putting that energy into other things instead of putting yourself out there all the time, right? I feel like your partner probably is way more emotionally vulnerable or outward. You're emotionally vulnerable as well, but I feel like they're very like vocal. There's no hiding how they feel. They'll cry in the middle of a restaurant, right? Where you definitely would be more maybe decisive about where you cry, okay? I don't know if this person, maybe you or them, had some amount of lusting or infidelity or, something where it felt like maybe it pushed some boundaries or just fully like broke vows kind of deal. I don't know, but I feel like in some way there's a lot of resentment. And I think it has to do with like a sense of being misaligned. Where like maybe your partner's saying, I want to be with you. I want to see you. I want to hang out with you. I want to spend, our evenings cuddling or whatever. And to you, this maybe feels like they're complaining. Like you're hearing, you don't ever, or we don't ever, or I can't believe that you won't, and why can't you, or when are you going to, all these kind of things that we hear. Our families, our spouses, our significant others, we all have these moments where these kinds of things come up. And I feel that whatever this misalignment has been, it feels like there's a lot of emphasis on it. Now, I'm not going to say every single Cancer ever, but I do feel like Cancers often are people who can have a lot of resentment and they cling to it deeply because it feels powerful. Well, and it is for any of us, right? I'm not just saying Cancers, but Cancers in particular. And a lot of times it's hard to clear that resentment because you won't talk about how angry you are. You won't talk about how much that makes you mad or how unfair this is or I don't like this about whatever. You won't say those things because oftentimes I think Cancers feel like they're evolved as beings because they can shove it down, really. Like hide the fact that I'm angry. Guess what, Cancer? A lot of us can see. We see how you feel. Don't think that we don't. But and I do. And I think you get into a place where, maybe instead of communicating, you just go straight for the add this on the pile of reasons why, you might feel some kind of resentment towards your partner, your family member, whoever, right? Your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever this is. Now, I do feel that at times you can definitely use the old, I'm leaving, I'm going to leave, I'm going to, get divorced or whatever it is, right? But I think that, more often than not, you're bluffing. I mean, whenever we've said this within our marriage, usually these are emotional words, right? Emotional feelings that we are, maybe trying to process or get out of a purge, whatever. But I feel like for you, you don't want to break up. You don't want to, not you be together, be in this union. But I just feel like, right now, how do we get to your inspiration returning? How do we get back to the sense of fulfillment? It's not by these bluffs, no, because that just digs the hole deeper, right? And I want to look at a couple more. I want to see at least one more, right? Affair, excitement, and health. So, yeah, I just, I feel like there's this sense of, I don't know, maybe wanting for something outside of what you have because you think it might be better. But I think you also know that where you're at is where you want to be. And listen, I don't know if every single person does, but I think a lot of us find ourselves in this place sometimes, right? I don't know if I want to stay, but I also don't want to go, right? And so I don't know. I don't think that there's an affair, but I do feel like you want excitement. And maybe, and this is how I'm reading it, because listen, I'm married to a Cancer. So boy, this better not be about my husband. I'll tell you what. And you all know my husband over at Dove and Serpent Tarot. And I'll tell you what. I stopped even doing his comments. I used to do all of his comments for a long time. Just because of the way that these women talk to him. It's wild. Like, you know that this dude's wife runs this business with him. I'm in all of it. I see the emails. I see the comments. We laugh about a lot of the stuff. But yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I get it. But this is not about him. It better not be. No. But I do. I feel like for you, you need to get back to your lust for life, the excitement that that you want and need to stay motivated, right? And so I do. I see you, and maybe it's a rekindling, right? Maybe it is an affair. Maybe you're having an affair with your spouse. Have you ever tried that when you're in a low point in your relationship? Not low, not like terrible, but maybe like you're so busy, the kids their sleep schedules are messed up. Everybody is just out of sorts, and this goes on for a few weeks. And so then, you got to reconnect with your person. And, sometimes it's like you're dating again. Maybe you're sneaking around, leaving work at lunch to go see each other. I already missed my daughter going to school, I'll tell you that. But yeah, enjoying the fun of it all. And that's really, I feel like, anyways, you got to keep things interesting. You got to keep things growing, evolving, trying different stuff. Writing each other bad poetry, going on sunset walks. I don't care if you've been married for 30 years. You've seen each other in all of your states of being, right? But sometimes, yeah, you got to just do the things. Try different stuff. But all of this leads back, I think, to your health, and your want to be healthy, to remain healthy, to get more healthy, your longevity, all of this kind of thing. I think all of this goes together. So we're going to do our 3 lucky numbers. 24, 53. I'm scanning to make sure I got the right one. What's the flattest one? They're 70. 73. We're going to go 73. All right. And we will finish with our Wild Bohemian affirmation cards. Did this get knocked over a little bit? I don't know. I'm getting ready to move my studio, so it will be different soon. But it kind of is a little janky right now because, like you can see over here, I soundproofed, and I'm like in basically like a little hut right now, and I have like a soundproofing over top of me and below me and stuff and all around me. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to keep it together until I can move into the more soundproofed area. So thank you. I know it's just, it probably doesn't look as bad as it feels in here right now. All right, let's see. We have number 27. I am seer. Deeply relax into the limitless potential of your totality to receive clear destiny visions. Deeply relax into the limitless potential of your totality to receive clear destiny visions. This one's worded in a very complicated way, but basically, yes, you have limitless potential, infinite avenues to go down. Your totality is limitless or infinite, and you have visions, I guess. Do you? Do you have visions? It says you're a seer, so you must. All right, Cancer, I love you. If you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, please do. I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, I'm going to say real quick, it's almost Cancer season. Woo, woo, woo. What are you going to do for your birthday? I want to hear all about it. And also, what do you want for your birthday? I'm trying to figure out what to get my husband for his birthday. For Father's Day, and he knows, I'm working on these little herb pouches that they're spells, or kind of. It's more sympathetic magic, I suppose. But for different ailments or, different things that you want to invoke in your life, manifest in your life. And so for my husband, and we're working on getting gut health together. So, yeah, that's, and now for his birthday, I have to think of something else. But I'd like to know, what do you all Cancers like to get for your birthday? What was your best gift ever? I'd love to hear about that. All right. I love you. We'll talk soon. Good night. Good night. Good night.